She gives the destitute a day to feel and work. A fortnight later, she receives an odd phone call. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. Abby was paralyzed with terror and was unable to move. She needed to embrace the facts even if she didn't want to think that this was happening to her. Allowing a convict to work at her business was a brave decision on her side, but the phone call she received moments ago cast things in a different perspective. It seemed like he was still with her even though he had departed a little more than an hour earlier. She could still smell his fragrance in the store, and it gave her the shivers. She was going to discover just how much this man could do. For 5 years, Abby Smith had been employed at her modest Scandinavian restaurant. She had dedicated all of her time, energy, and resources to realizing her restaurant ownership ambition. But when a homeless guy entered her restaurant one chilly Monday morning, the restaurateur had no idea what was in store for her. Abby has 10 years of experience in the culinary and hospitality industries. She was used to hard, long hours, cliquish co-workers, and impolite clients. She knew it was for the best, therefore, when she decided to start her own company. Though Abby believed she had seen it all over her 10-year career, she was always surprised by what was ahead of her. Abby woke up exactly at 5 a.m. on a Monday. Once again, Monday morning found us in the restaurant. She took a shower and wiped her sleepy eyes. She was very mistaken to believe that it would just be another typical day. Abby was prepared for a hectic day when she got to work. Ready to begin the day, she prepared the meal, cleaned the surfaces, and opened the front door. Then, all of a sudden, there was a homeless man walking inside the eatery. Abby had no idea what to expect from this encounter. "I apologize," the destitute guy said. He spoke softly. "My name is Ricky. Do you have any extra change on hand?" The homeless man had grief in his eyes as Abby glanced at him. "Do you not have a job?" Abby inquired directly. Ricky was surprised by her statement. "No, I don't," he said, averting Abby's gaze. "I have a lot of felonies, so nobody wants to hire me." In spite of this information, Abby gave an unbelievable response. Abby had been observing Ricky, the homeless man, hanging about the neighborhood and outside for some time now. But she never saw him get into any difficulty. He looked to be a recluse. Therefore, not even Ricky could have anticipated Abby's response when he asked her for some change when he entered her eatery. Abby made Ricky an offer to work at the restaurant as she knew she could use some assistance. His eyes and cheeks brightened like a little child's at Christmas. She instructed him to work cleaning and dishwashing all day. Ricky started working right away and Abby fixed him a sandwich for lunch. But as soon as she gave it to him, he grabbed it out of her hands and fled the restaurant faster than a cheetah. When Abby watched Ricky dash out the door, her heart fell and she took out after him. She observed, however, that he had handed the sandwich to a different homeless guy around the block. He quickly returned to the restaurant, and his thoughtfulness melted Abby's heart, but she was unaware of what was about to happen. Abby made an effort to learn as much as she could about Ricky's background and life during the day. Other than telling her he was from Puerto Rico, he looked reserved and unwilling to talk to her. What did he conceal? Abby realized she couldn't retain Ricky on as a permanent employee since the restaurant wasn't making enough money. Abby was already having difficulty getting by in these difficult times. So Abby said Ricky go at the conclusion of the day. She was mistaken to believe it would be her final encounter with him. But Ricky showed up at the restaurant the next day, and for the next 2 weeks, prepared to begin his shift. He showed up at the door like clockwork, his smile shining through the glass. When he eventually paid Abby, she was at a loss for words. You see, Ricky went to Abby's restaurant to get a lunch as soon as he got paid. She also gave him a staff discount, of course. She said goodbye to him and started packing things for the day. She thought about bringing him on full-time and cutting costs somewhere in the company. But right before Ricky left, Abby got a call that turned everything around. As Abby was wrapping up what felt like an endless day, her phone rang. She took it up, but the number escaped her. She hesitated before taking the phone. She was clueless about what was ahead. "Do you know Ricky?" was queried by a harsh, deep voice. Abby's pulse accelerated. "Who is the caller?" "It's the police," the voice declared. "We have some information about him that we think you should know." She begged the police to tell her all they knew about Ricky, fearing for her life. but she was unprepared for the response. Not in a millennium. The cops decided to look into Ricky's background because they claimed to have seen him about town several times. Ricky told them he was from Puerto Rico and had moved to the United States to pursue his acting career. But before long, he ran out of money and was left homeless. But Abby felt sick to her stomach when she heard what the cops stated next. Tomorrow, have him come in. Verify that he is present at your eatery. The police officers said, "We want to see him." Abby felt a shiver run up her spine. What prompted them to seek him out? Was something wrong with him? She reluctantly consented, but she had no idea what the cops were planning. The next day, Abby was apprehensive about her future when she got to work. Ricky arrived at the front door like clockwork. Abby wanted to tell him about the cops as soon as she saw him, but something inside her urged her not to. She would regret not telling him. Ricky was grinning as soon as he walked inside the restaurant. He got to work clearing the tables, but as soon as he saw two police officers enter, his smile transformed into a frown. Ricky attempted to escape the restaurant as soon as possible, but was halted by the two police officers. They refused to accept it. They responded, "Don't worry," and blocked the door. However, Ricky had good reason to be concerned of police personnel. You see, Ricky became homeless 4 years ago after he was unable to succeed as an actor and spent all of his remaining money. He took sure to avoid officers as much as possible because he was well aware that they weren't always the good ones. However, Ricky was unaware of what these two law enforcement agents intended to do to him. "Come with us now," they urged as they escorted Ricky outside and into the police vehicle. Abby, meantime, saw Ricky being pushed into the car while feeling ill to her stomach and staring out the window. How had she behaved? Had she made a grave error? Abby would fall to her knees when all was exposed in a matter of hours. After 2 hours, Abby was waiting impatiently for a response from Ricky or the police officers. Fortunately, the morning had been somewhat busy. However, the afternoon was approaching, and she was still waiting for a response. Abby was at a loss for words when she saw someone go through the door at 4:30 p.m. A well-groomed man wearing elegant attire entered and grinned at her. At first, she was unable to identify his face, but she could recognize his smile anywhere. It was Ricky, but he didn't look like him at all. Ricky was escorted to a hair salon by the police, who also paid for a haircut. They bought him new clothing as well. However, their generosity didn't stop there. It was determined by the cops that Ricky just needed assistance. He was a decent man who was stuck in a rut and needed a little help. The police started helping Ricky find a respectable employment and even assisted with the paperwork to obtain him a rental in a desirable area. That wasn't all, though. After the authorities mobilized the neighborhood, clothing, food, furniture, and other essential goods were quickly being donated by individuals all around to help him get started. Ricky would have a real bed and a genuine roof over his head as soon as the housing application was approved. Ricky was in disbelief. "I'm stunned," he murmured. "This has actually restored my faith in humanity, even if it was a hand up, not a handout." And although they said that by looking for a job, he had already done the bulk of the hard work to get his life together, Ricky was nevertheless moved to tears by the gesture. In the past, people had been so cold and life had been so harsh. He was on the verge of giving up on mankind. Ricky had experienced years of homelessness, but this new city represented a fresh start, and he would make every effort to end his homelessness. The generosity of strangers had been astounding. Would it, however, be sufficient for him to at last have a fresh start? In their garage, Officer Branson and his family had been storing all the donated goods while they awaited the processing of Ricky's home application. "It's now his responsibility," Officer Brantford stated. "This is where he is going to start. It all comes down to integrating with the community." In fact, Officer Brantford had even been able to contact Ricky's mother back in Puerto Rico. For the first time in their 4 years, the two were reunited via video chat. Disclaimer: names, localities, and identifying traits have been changed to protect the privacy of persons portrayed. All other details are the work of the author's imagination. Any likenesses to real people, places, or events. Ricky expressed his gratitude to Abby and the cops for their assistance at a time when he truly needed it. He had a house, a supportive neighborhood, concerned adults in positions of power, and the helping hands that would eventually enable him to live the life he had always wanted. Disclaimer: names, localities, and identifying traits have been changed to protect the privacy of persons portrayed. All other details are the work of the author's imagination. Any likenesses to real people, places, or events, living or dead, are pure coincidence. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.